in terms of set pieces and action. I don't know if he speaks in terms of visuals. And I think Hopkins, I mean, we just did an episode about Judgment Night and the way he frames things in shadow. And a lot of he uses widescreen. So he shoots an inner city movie almost as a Western. And he uses shadows to paint. That's part of his cinematographer as well, his gaffer and like all that crew. But he storyboarded this. So at the end CJ Strawn, she was stressed out with their set designs, but she had these visuals that were beautiful that she could go off of. So even though they were in a hurry, they had a very clear idea of what they needed. So in this film, they never end up with an invisible room, a room where there's invisible karate with an invisible villain.
Right.
This is a room where there's none of that. And I think visually, with a script on the fly, I don't know. I dig, like, this is my favorite looking, I would say. I mean, the first one, listen, is beautiful. The spinning room, Freddy walking with the long arms, that gag. I don't know. This is the one I'd do the screenshots off of, for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but so Megan and I went on a walk today, and I was talking to her about this and how, I reached out, and we'll do some questions after the break, when we come back, because I was like, what am I going to talk about? But the more that I've researched this, I guess it's a scrappy crew who had a very tight turnaround and an unfinished script, but they're all good at what they did. And this is the result. I mean, it's less than ideal, but you can't compare this to a movie that has been gestating for 10 years and finally gets made. You can't compare this to a horror sequel that has 2 years to prep. Like, so you just got to take it at face value. And I guess what it is, it's good. I mean, it's fine. It's maybe oversaturated, what they said was the problem. But yeah, for what they have. So my respect for this movie comes from the scrappy crew of young people who never slept that made some very arresting visuals.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, and for all the visuals you say, I actually will say though, I think that the lows, you got the highs and lows of the visuals. I think that the lows are lower than parts 3 and 4. It's just that the highs are what you notice. Mm-hmm. When they painted everything black and white when Freddy's in the warehouse, if you were to just pause it on some of that, it's a super basic set.
Yeah.
Right? It's basic even for the basic sets that we find in Nightmare on Elm Street movies, like going through some of the dirty halls of the 1423 Elm Street house, which you don't notice because someone's running through it as much. But there are some very basic aspects here. But again, the highs, this Victorian Gothic hospital on a stormy night every time you see it. These hallways, even
the scale of some of the sets.
Right. So I think that the lows are lower. Part of the slapdash time frame too, like you said, building the sets as you go, just make this work and focus on Freddy. You film it close ups, you mostly see Freddy, but the scene is there for you to understand what's happening most of the time, right? But then when you have your highs, the highs are higher. When we had Greta at the dinner table, at the dinner party with her mother and their friends, I'm sure that was channeling Beetlejuice.
I was about to say that. Absolute Beetlejuice.
Right. The attire and the pretension of the people at this table, it just bled Beetlejuice, which just came out 3 or 4 years earlier, 86, I want to say, and this is 89. The mother even had a dash of Catherine O'Hara, just without any of the character. The sullen Greta on the other end. And Robert Englund is the waiter. You only see the lower half of his face. And then later it's Freddy. And that was magnificent. I heard that was apparently from Never Sleep Again, that was a very drawn out. And MPAA just made them curtail it a lot. Even the actress was saying she doesn't even remember what it was. It was so taxing doing the scenes over and over again with all that makeup. Yeah. But she vaguely remembers that there was a lot more, and
she was being fed to herself. Like he cut open her gut and was feeding it to her,
and it got more brutal than they showed. Even though it is kind of macabre and unnerving, that jarring look of her distended cheeks and the food's erupting out, and she has her eyes are just expressing a perpetual a panic, fear, horror. It works really well, but I wish we had that little bit more I hope maybe they didn't have the budget also to clean everything up. I'm not sure if it was just the MPAA. I would have loved to see more there. But that scene, for example, just her looking down the dinner table, and you don't even see her because it's her POV. That's a pause moment for me, as you're mentioning pause moments. And and there's no action happening. There's no killing happening. There's no like huge scape to be seen, but the table. And yet that's one for me. And they even do those shots that are very Poltergeist. In Poltergeist, when the wall tears away and it kind of creates kind of a vortex that would suck Jo Beth Williams, the mother, into it, right when it was near bedtime, and it looks like, I don't know, the esophagus of a giant monster, if you will, that she would go down. We see that in this movie. In this movie, it's obviously probably a birth canal, right, because of the theme of the movie. But we see these birth canal like shots over and over again. And again, those are very impactful. You wonder what you're going down because it clearly looks biological.
It looks great.
When they had the opportunity to, they very much compensated for the weaknesses of the film.
In my notes, I always capitalize things that I want to get out later. So, like in the warehouse he's in, I dug. It looked super cheap, but I dug the jagged edges around various areas. You could see these kind of jagged, pointed edges. I thought that was pretty impressionistic and pretty cool. I also have funky camera work, which I've already covered. But then I also wanted to talk about and I also have neat builds on the sets. So yeah, I keep writing the same thing over and over in my notes here. So I must have loved these thoughts. I don't know if you ever do that with your notes. Remember later.
Absolutely. I actually put Greta in all caps.
Yeah, solid practical effects.
Before a couple of notes.
I like the dad. I like his arc in this. So yeah, man. All right, how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will talk more A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. We will be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And I reached out on Movies, Films, and Flicks Facebook for some questions from our fans, from other podcasters, from readers, from writers. And we got some really interesting questions that we have here, John. So I'm going to read these out. So we got one from Dan Allen Sr., where he asks, what's your favorite Freddy kill in the series? I think mine is when he kills the kid in the video game and Freddy's dead. And so this is a huge fan.
You mean the Power Glove?
Yeah. And so that's what he loves. And he sent me a clip for it. But yeah, his favorite is when Freddy, I mean, it's obviously the cheeky one, but so like the hipster pick is the spinning room from the first one, but it's still, for me, it's Taron from Dream Warriors, man. It's the meanest. It's mean. It's the most effective. And I don't know if you know me, man. Like I watch a lot of horror movies, but I don't like the ones that are just killing for killing's sake. If you're gonna kill someone in a horror movie, you should feel it. It should be like Thirst or I Saw the Devil. It shouldn't be pretty, and so it shouldn't be. That's most of Final Destination, but I like those movies. But for me, Taron has really stuck with me because how mean it was. He gave her hope, and then he killed her with a drug overdose or whatever, the equivalent of that. It's just mean.
So for me, if we're saying death scene, I'm going to say that Taron is my favorite death. Right? That 2 seconds, if you will. But the whole scene, I mean, I got to go with what we were talking about last month.
Cockroach
scene.
Yes.
Cockroach scene. It incorporates weightlifting and it's a glorious weightlifting and entomology are the themes of this. I mean that and it's not even because of that, because I've loved this death scene before that, but it's just such this drawn out like double death scene / transformation creature scene, and it's gory,
and
which
squishy.
Most of his deaths aren't.
And squishy,
right?
Yep.
And it's gory. It's squishy. There's slimy, squishy gooiness. But is it true? And I didn't even think about it until like just now though. Like it's got entomology and weightlifting, and if you just threw in a craft beer, you got most of the aspects of that make my life there.
That's amazing. We never even covered that, and I think that's probably my second favorite because you're like, oh, the weight's gonna kill her, like it's gonna decapitate her, rip her arms off, but then she becomes a cockroach.
But, the irony there, though, is that the actual death at the end, I don't really care about. He just squeezes the thing and some goo comes out.
Yeah.
So whereas Taron, I'm less impressed with the buildup of the death scene. But, oh, my God, the death itself that is the climax of the death scene. I'm with you. Because that's horrifying. And it's not just because I have a needle phobia. It's that aside that he used that weakness against her. And in her case, her weakness was most viciously exploited compared to, in my opinion, the other people in that movie.
Evil.
Yeah, but yeah. So for you, Taron, for me, I can't think of her name now.
The weightlifter?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's escaped me as well.
But yeah, the Roach weightlifter death from part 4.
Love it. All right. Abby Cook asks, how is everyone at lucid dreaming? How good do you think you would be at shaping the dream you want it to have the upper hand?
I mean, for me, I my whole life I've actually been a very tortured sleeper, very unfortunately so. It's created a lot of problems for me in my life. Only as I've gotten older, I've gotten better. But yeah, I'm a terrible sleeper. So if you don't sleep deeply, you generally either don't remember your dreams or your dreams are less lucid. And so my sleep is usually more punctuated. So my dreams are extremely fleeting. They're fragmented memories, even if it's right when I wake up and it's as fresh in my head as it's going to be. So with that in mind, I suppose I would be in the least control and Freddy would mess with me the most. And worse yet, I'd keep waking up and falling asleep and he'd get to re-torment me. And I might reach that stage where I don't know if I'm awake or asleep because I'm insomniatic because I can hardly sleep. I feel like I'd be one of those early deaths in the movie.
Yeah.
That set the tone for how vile Freddy's going to be in this Freddy movie. Because I'm a terrible sleeper.
Oof. All right. That's it. Okay, I don't dream much, right? But I do have these weird dreams where I'm running from things. So zombies or vampires or
how fast
like
are the zombies?
Guns, like fast. Everything's fast.
But for
some reason I keep I've never died in a dream. Like I just keep running. I keep finding ways to escape. Like I pull a clear and present danger, just move. So like I'm like Maze Runner. The second one, running from the zombies, just keep going. And I have much better cardio in my dreams than I do in real life. So that's a good thing. So that could actually help me. So I know Freddy likes to lock people in and mess with them. But I don't know. In my dreams, I keep escaping from things. Like I keep running. It's not like, I don't think it's a subconscious thing for me to run away. I love my life. But for some reason, I just love zombies and I love monsters. So I think I just dream about trying to escape them. I mean, I love Escape from New York. I love Big Trouble in Little China. You're trying to go to something. So I don't dream much, but my best, I don't think I would ever go for the upper hand against Freddy because that's pointless. I would just try to move. That's what I would do. I would move until there's nowhere else to move. So I guess that it wouldn't work, but I wouldn't try to Home Alone Freddy in a dream. I would just run. I would, Chariots of Fire it.
You can only Home Alone Freddy when you're awake, like Nancy did.
Exactly. Hit him in the balls with a sledgehammer. No, I love that question. Thank you, Abby. That was a lot of fun. So then we have Lisa. She asks, what's your favorite Freddy wisecrack? Also, this one I like a lot. Which Freddy is scarier? Nightmare Freddy versus pulled into the real world Freddy who gets home alone. I added that. Versus Meta Freddy, a la New Nightmare. And then there's one more. What'd she have? Oh, that's it. So Freddy, Nightmare Freddy, Real World Freddy, or Meta Freddy?
I'm going to say Meta Freddy. Yeah, I haven't seen that in a while. That's probably the movie that I've seen the least, but also because it was one of the newer ones. That and Freddy vs. Jason I've seen the least. But I just remember him, we joke, we call him a dream demon.
Yeah.
We call him a dream demon. And that one, he actually felt like a demon.
He's a demon.
And the other ones, he feels like a spirit that came back and is just mean. And that he felt like a damn Constantine demon.
Exactly. I'm with you. We could Home Alone Real World Freddy. Nightmare Freddy, he's just the gags, right? So I'm looking at this as an audience member, not someone being hunted. But as an audience member, it's just Freddy doesn't become scary anymore. I don't believe in the later sequels. I think the concept of him is
this is
scary.
the last one. I think 5 is the last one where he has a moment of scary. And part 4 he wasn't scary.
And I just think this meta one of this demon that was awakened and kind of feeds off